Hi there, I'm Claudia Orengo from heartmade.es, and you are at my Ask Me Anything series. So if you want to submit a question, all you have to do is be an email subscriber. You'll find here a link. It's heartmade.es/AMA to become a subscriber. And then once you're in, you'll have a form where you can submit your questions. You can keep it anonymous or share your name, and I will record an answer for you like this one. Lynette asked, what is your favorite place in Morocco? Can you share a picture or 10 from there? I really love this question. When I got it, I was so excited. If you want to submit more questions on the Ask Me Anything series about, my travels and my experience as a digital nomad, they are all welcome. So at first, when I read this question and I was taking notes, I thought, well, wait a minute, what's my favorite place? And I could only think of hotels. And then I thought, oh, La Mamuina. I never stayed there as a guest, but I visited it because you can visit the gardens and it's so beautiful. But the fun, or why I find it funny that I could only think of hotels at first, it's because I was really living in poor conditions, basically. I didn't have hot water. I was living in a very small place with a lot of people in the desert. There was no much communication. So it was really hard. And anything luxury, even if it was just having a beer, which I like to drink beer, and here you can go to any bar or even a supermarket and purchase one, there it's really hard because not only it's a luxury, but also it's an Islamic country, so they don't promote drinking. They are supposed to not drink, and you can only find those in really specific places, and especially in hotels for tourists. But other than that, in hotels you could find like swimming pools, and it was so hot in there. So I would eventually every now and then take like a break from the house and go for a couple of hours on a hotel and have a beer and swim in the swimming pool so that I could be surrounded by nature, etc. So I want to say that this is why I came up with this. As much as I loved the experience there and I loved doing the trekkings on the desert, it was hard, and anything luxury related or more related to the life that I can have here, which to other people or to me right now, it's not a luxurious life. But when you go and live in those situations, in those conditions, you really appreciate what you have and you see everything as a luxury. I will never forget one of the times I visited my family. So I was living there in Morocco and I came back here and I was at my parents' house and I was seeing the sink on the kitchen and it was shiny. And I was like, wow, this is shiny. Or the fact of having a shower. I was really appreciating things that by default, I always thought they were like normal to have. Okay, so more notes that I have here. Then I started thinking, okay, it has to be something else besides hotels and swimming pools, etc. And I remembered I never got to, but I would love to visit Chefchaouen, which is like a blue city. It's really beautiful, at least from what I see on pictures. So that's a place I would love to go. The real favorite place from everything I visited would be Essaouira. It's a coast city or village. I don't know how they call it. It has boats. You can see the sea. It's more bohemian. It's more open to tourists. There's a lot of tourists who go from Marrakesh to Essaouira. And I have been there several times and everything about it, I love it. So that was my favorite place to go when I needed some kind of break from the desert. And I would say before moving to photos that my favorite thing, not place, was watermelon. I love their watermelons. They were huge. Like I've never seen a watermelon that big, and they were the normal watermelons. And they were so juicy, so good. So I love that. So this was my favorite thing from Morocco. Now I'm going to move to photos and show you some of the things I found. Okay, so I have to say I was checking and I don't have lots of photos from my time in Morocco. This was the road that was next to where I was living, and it had this, they called it like an oasis. Like I think they called it a palm garden. And it was full of palms, and these that you can see, these are the type of walls that you would find for houses in the area where I was living. So imagine everything like this without the palms. It was really hard and, like monotonous. And then you kind of like cross the road and the river and you arrive to this area. It really feels like an oasis. So this is me dressing with my winter clothes because on winter it was cold, but really enjoying the nature and having this break from the place where I was staying. This was the sunset view with the palms. I really love that. I think, this was think this at some point had water, and when you crossed, the village was just like this, but without the palms. What else? Yeah, lots of, I found lots of flower photos, and I think it's because every time I found something around nature, I would take a picture. I was really, joyful and happy to see colors, etc. I think this was in Marrakesh, which was a 9-hour journey in bus. So it would take you the whole day from where I was living. This was Essaouira, the place I was telling you. As you can see, it's quite different. It has, I don't know, it's a little bit more taken care of. And there is more, you can see the sea. I was so happy always to see the sea. I love the sea. And then boats, there were lots of fishermen there. You could eat fish. You could really like eat fresh fish there, which you could not in the desert. This is me doing henna. So I was bringing my creative skills into their culture. It was fun. And this was one of the hotels I used to visit. I wouldn't stay here, but I would go for, a juice or a beer and have a time on the swimming pool. So you can really tell the difference in the next photos. This is where I was living. So this is indoor the house. You can see like the table was super small and on the floor. So I was always working like this. You can see my watercolor supplies here, my computer. And this is how I had been working for a year when I was living there in the desert. Here's another picture. This is outside of the house. And you can see the size of the table. I would put this fabric to take some photos so that it had more of a clean and empty background. But you can really tell the difference between this and this. So I was really happy to go to these places when I had the opportunity. There was not a lot of light on the house. I think there was only one window, like very small window in this side, so behind where the photo is taken. And then you can see here, it's the street. So it's a really small place and it has no doors. And quite different to where I was used to live. And this was the village near where I was living. So this was I think it was from a roof terrace where I was having a juice. And you can see the palm garden here. And then the village was here on this mountain. So this is the collection of photos I could find from my experience in Morocco. But thank you for the question. So this was my answer to this question. I hope you find this useful. Let me know in the comments. And if you want to submit your own question, remember you have to be an email subscriber. You can do that by going to heartmade.es/AMA, and you'll receive the form with instructions on how to submit your questions.